A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Distinguished guests on the stage, respected ladies and gentlemen, dear students, Assalamu alaikum. It is indeed an immense pleasure being here in this university. I had a slight round. It was again very impressive, the Center of Meditation. But equally impressive was this Center for Peace and Counterterrorism Studies. I think such sort of initiatives and such of new faculties, they need to be developed in all educational institutions because this is the need of the hour. As we just listened to very distinguished speakers earlier, that this is the challenge that we are facing today, and we need to accept it, we need to face it, and we need to win it over collectively. Let me at the outset say, and I think there would be a consensus around it, that the conflict, it has transformed. We had been listening to visible wars, the battlefields, but now the landscape has changed. It is modern warfare, and it talks about disinformation campaigns, narratives, cyberspace, psychological influence. So we need to actually understand this changing paradigm of how this new warfare landscape is developing, and we can call it the hybrid warfare. And these hybrid warfare obviously pose challenges to nations, including Pakistan. When we talk of Pakistan, such sort of challenges, they are intertwined with multiple other factors like terrorism, as we are experiencing it in two provinces of our country. The regional instability, it has deep impact on how Pakistan is going to deal with this modern warfare. Political polarization, and also technical or technological vulnerabilities. So I think as this conference moves on, such sort of topics, they would be dwelled further in order to come up with certain strategies how we move into this account. At the same time, it is very important that we should understand and visualize that this sectarian or political polarization, it is further wedging in cleavages within our social fabric. And we need to actually not only understand, but also come up with certain policy reforms, with some strategies as to how we can live with political differences, but we need to have a political unified agenda in order to bring prosperity and development for this country. This modern warfare actually has blurred the distinction between war and peace. A country otherwise seemingly in peace is actually at war because these intertwining features of cyberspace intrusion, of actually polluting the minds of the youth and those inside, and creating a distrust with the institutions of that country, actually it keeps that country in a state of war, though otherwise it is at peace. When we talk of Pakistan, obviously we understand it very well, the evolution, and we generally label it with the Russian invasion of Afghanistan in 1980s, and then afterwards the whole jihad, and then war against terror after 9/11, whereby Pakistan became a frontline state in that very war. And it actually led to proliferation of certain organizations which had militant character. And that militancy is now actually threatening us. And we need to understand that. With the watershed event of APS attack in 2014, there actually was felt a need for a very comprehensive counter-terrorism strategy, and it was actually given afterwards. And various operations, they were also carried out, as you know, Zarb-e-Azab and Raddul Fasad. But still, there are arguments that we are still fighting. Although we laid down thousands of lives in order to protect the frontiers and the interest of the country, still the threats are looming large. So we need to move beyond this very kinetic approach. And in this very context, we need to understand the problems that we are facing. As I stated earlier, regional instability. So long as it continues around our borders, there would be threat and obviously a reality pertaining to cross-border militancy, the movement of refugees, and such mobility of terrorists. And this is what we are actually confronting in the border provinces of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan at present. Ideological radicalization. So we need to bring peace amongst various sects of Muslims and also amongst various faiths living in the country. Political polarization, obviously, it can weaken national security and unity, and it actually undermines public confidence in institutions. Another very important issue which must be kept in mind are the socio-economic. We need to understand that poverty, unemployment, weak governance, and lack of educational opportunities, definitely it promotes a culture of intolerance, and it weakens the governance of a country. Last but not the least is a very important cybercrime or cyber information warfare. And in order to address these issues, I would now like to state that it's not only the diagnostic part that I'm talking about. The government definitely is cognizant of the steps that it needs to take. And the steps which have been taken, I would like to talk about a National Action Plan. The National Action Plan, which was revised in 2019 through a revised National Action Plan, it is our national resolve. And it tells that it is not only the kinetic action, the military response to militants, but also the non-kinetic things that we need to look at. We need to bring up for reforms in the legal domain. We need to actually carry out socio-economic development of the underprivileged areas. We need to take affirmative action, whereby those segments of society who feel that they have been left out, so no one should be left out. So this is a very important thing. Iran-US conflict is going on, and Pakistan is actually carrying out a dominant part of diplomacy at this point of time. So this is yet another feather in our cap, and it actually emboldens us and gives us the confidence that we are capable of doing not only acts within our frontiers, but we can also be a very valuable partner in peace when it comes to the global issues. We dealt with the issues of FATF in a very intelligent manner, and the threats which had been looming large on our economic spectrum, they were resolved. At the same time, there is an immense need whenever we talk of this new warfare, the hybrid warfare, that we should have systematic approach towards intelligence fusion and threat assessment. And in this very connection, at the federal level, a new organization or setup has come up which we call NIFTAC, which is the National Intelligence Fusion and Threat Assessment Center, and it has 4 PIFTACs in all the 4 provinces. Then, obviously, our respected registrar just mentioned Center of Excellence on Countering Violent Extremism. And this is obviously a feather in the cap of Punjab government, that it is not only mere kinetic words or actions, but also they have come up with the legal and institutional reform. And a new Center of Excellence has been created in the Punjab government, which is working under the Home Department, and its main task is to come up with strategies. I mean, this conference is definitely a very, very important step in order to guide us as to how we need to move further in order to handle this spike of terrorism and militancy and warfare. And I'm sure the officers of Center of Excellence who are sitting here, they would be guided. If you people have not been able to go through the policy of the national level of 2024 in order to prevent violent extremism, I think this should be an area of interest for you, because the youth actually, they are the targets of these, anti-Pakistan elements. They would try to reach your minds. They would try to read your minds. They would try to modify your minds. And now it's time that all of you, obviously, you are all very patriotic, so you need to be equipped with such knowledge and you need to be made aware of the threats and challenges so that you keep on the right course and be strength for this nation of Pakistan. At the same time, I would like to share that under the Home Department, we have yet another organization which we call Civil Defense. But we transformed it as Punjab Civil Defense Resilience Corps. So the element of resilience is now very, very important. We may not be under threat militarily in any manner, maybe in the times to come, but the internal resilience is very important. And the youth, the elderly, whether they are employed or unemployed, whether they are educated or not, there is an online platform of joining this volunteer corps, and more than 350,000 people from all across the province, they have already enrolled themselves as the volunteers. So this is yet another platform whereby your voice would be heard, your suggestions would be considered, and obviously your input would lead towards a path of prosperity and peace inside the country and beyond the borders of our beloved homeland. I would also like to share that the current government has taken a very revolutionary step, a unique step. Various governments have been taking steps in order to facilitate farmers, laborers, people with special abilities and others. But one very important segment of society, which is the Imam Sahiban of Masajid, they were somehow forgotten. And they are very, very important because you interact, or the society interacts with them maybe 5 times a day or a little bit less, but they hold that very prestigious muazzaz position in that segment. So in order to reach out to them and actually overcome their financial problems, an honorarium program, it was actually initiated. More than 76,000 Imam Masjid Sahiban, they are now registered with us. And obviously, despite that very element of overcoming their financial issues, they are now the spokesperson of peace, the center of peace, which is we are talking about. So they are actually countering those tendencies whereby intersect harmony issues were highlighted, or some sort of discord, that was ignited. It is now a different ball game altogether. We are moving in that very direction. And through these Imam Masjid Sahiban, obviously they hold the pulpit. They give the Jummah sermons. And during those sermons, they talk about major societal issues. For example, narcotics, the use of narcotic substances in the society. They are there actually convincing people that the children should not be out of school. They have the right to get education. So a change at the societal level is being brought through inclusion and involvement of all those who actually matter and can play a positive role. I would like to say that how I can proceed further. In order to proceed further, the approach is whole of nation approach. Whether you are in uniform, whether you are in CVs, whether you are educated or not, whether you are in government service or otherwise, whether you are in education or getting education, in whatever capacity we are, we need to think of a strong Pakistan. We need to think of our role that we can play in order to strengthen the internal and external frontiers of our homeland. And I am sure with such responsibility being understood by each one of us, definitely we can bring about that very change that we are envisioning today in everyone's mind. There is a Pakistan which should be prosperous, which should be strong, which should be playing its role in the Committee of Nations. और आप सब जो हैं, हर फर्द है मिल्लत के मुकद्दर का सितारा, as Iqbal said. So all of you are those illuminating lights who can definitely lighten up the future for the country. Another very important takeaway or the lesson that we need to draw is to build a very strong counter narrative against extremism. And this very conference which is being held today, it's a step in that very direction. And I'm very eagerly looking forward to the recommendations or the final suggestion which would flow down out of the deliberations of this full day long seminar, and I'm sure we would be guided by it. So these counter narrative, narrative, and it's already there in the shape of Paigam-e-Pakistan. I am not sure how many brilliant students sitting before me or those who are not around, they know that there is a document which we call Paigam-e-Pakistan, and it actually includes such sort of sermons, such sort of issues have been highlighted which need to be addressed in the light of Islam, Quran and Sunnah. And I was really impressed, it was not in my knowledge, that Tahirul Qazi Sahab, he has also given an edict or a fatwa which is 600 pages long, and it actually definitely would have covered all aspects related to terrorism, related to extremism, and what sort of response a nation, a Muslim nation, or otherwise a community of people should take in order to respond to such sort of challenges. We need to invest in human development. This is very, very important, and this is one of the suggestions which we need to take very seriously. We cannot now stay at the fringes of technological advancement. We need to be right in the center of it. We are Pakistan. We need to be leading in these domains as well. Why should we be a beneficiary of whatever is being developed across the globe? Yes, that is there. We would be the beneficiary, but we would also create that knowledge. We should be the ones who would be leading when it comes to cyber security, AI-based monitoring system, and protection of critical infrastructure. And last but not the least, in order to move further, we need to have regional cooperation. We can understand that even if we move swiftly, if we remain integrated and strong inside, there are enemies outside. So it's very, very important that regional cooperation, the Pakistan is definitely playing its role as an ambassador of peace across the globe. So these were the few words from my side. And before I leave, I would like to say that we must have a resolve to very collectively and responsibly, with prudence and strategy, and with vigor and wisdom, we need to move forward. We need to make Pakistan strong. We need to be cognizant of the challenges. We need to be aware of the solutions, and we must be determined in order to execute whatever is decided by the state of Pakistan. Pakistan Zindabad, Pakistan Paindabad.